Hello, and welcome to Global Wellness for All podcasts. My name is Laleh Hancock, and I'm going to be your host every week, every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Lisbon time, as we do this journey and adventure of wellness in all parts of our lives.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hera TV with our conversation about wellness. My name is Laleh Hancock, and I'm one of the Hera advisors. We're going to talk a lot about Hera and Hera wellness today, but I want to introduce my two cohorts today. We have Friska Wirya. She's here from Australia. She's a change management expert and a transformation director. And then from Brazil, on vacation in Brazil, we have Paulo Gomes. Paulo is a fashion and art director, a creative director at Manifesto Mondo, and so much more. And what I love is that we're going to be talking about wellness. And I think a lot of times when people think about wellness, the first thing they think of is your health, your body, your exercise, and your vitamins and things of that sort. And even though that is one of the many pieces to this, it is not the only one. Wellness actually includes every aspect of our lives and living. Our wellness in our bodies, our mental state, our ability to have successful businesses, so having wellness there, wellness in your finances, your relationships, and as we're going to talk, the transformation of wellness in the fabric and other things that also come along. So thank you guys for being here. Just a little bit about Hera before we get started. This is Hera TV, and started by an incredible organization, started by our friend Marinella Milpuri, who's also here. And really in the aim of creating a city to empower women and humanity to know that they have a place they can go to be empowered, not just here for us to do for them, but truly empowering them to become the leaders they are. When you look at a particular person, we all have mothers, we all have influential people who've been in our lives, and one woman, empowering one woman, actually empowers the whole community. And what I love is Marinella had this dream 20 years ago to create a place, a space that was safe but empowering and allowed women to know, you know what, we're more than just what characteristics might be out there for what a woman can do and cannot do. And in the last couple of years, it actually has become an association, and our reach is global. We have advisors, ambassadors from all around the world. We have experts in every single field there is out there. And we're going to be building the first city to be announced soon. We can't put it out there yet, where we're going to have Hera City, a city in a country where we're going to have tools, resources. You're going to have places where people can have sell their products and services, where they're going to be empowered and trained to truly be the leaders that they are. And I'm so grateful for you, Marinella, for that vision that you had, and every single person that you have connected to over the years that is here taking this message and running with it and sharing it with everyone. I know personally for me, the 5 minutes I met her, I knew I wanted to be part of this initiative. And I'm so grateful that actually with my business, Global Wellness for All, partnering with Hera, we have created Hera Wellness. And our first project is actually going to be in Dubai. We are building an amazing Hera Wellness Center in a building that is all focused on wellness for you, your health, your mind, your business, and everything else. So with that, just want to introduce Friska. If you could just share a little bit, I know you've done a lot of things in business, and we just talked about it. wellness in business. So can you tell us just a little bit more about you and kind of like, what does even wellness mean to you in business?
So I'm a change management consultant, coach, and trainer. And I've spent the better half of a decade working all around the world for some of the biggest names in mining, engineering, and higher ed. So I help very large organizations and the individuals within them more effectively drive and sustain a positive change, whatever that change could be. It could be a new organizational culture. It could be a digital transformation. It could be a merger and acquisition. So change comes in all shapes and sizes. And considering, we spend 40 to 50 hours a week at work, for many of us, it's our second home, so to speak. And we have a third of our meals at the workplace. And so when I'm introducing quite significant change, it can be quite turbulent to the organization and to people's lives. So wellness is quite a central part of that. And wellness to me means a holistic well-being program that encompasses our physical health, our mental health, our social health, the health of our relationships. And that's what's piqued my interest to be here today.
Wonderful. Well, we're very happy you're here. And Paulo, I know I have spoken to you so often about, you talk about sustainability, you talk about fashion done different. So tell us a little bit more about you, and also what does wellness mean to you?
So first of all, thank you for having me. So for me, I started as a fashion art director for 30 years ago. And I was working with luxury brands and the Fashion Week. And I was doing the editing of Elle magazine, Marie Claire, and all of that stuff. And finally, 10 years ago, we started a project. So we are connecting and making the bridge between the textiles and the environment. So it's well-being, because it's to create a good relationship between our body and all that surrounds us. So, and finally, 5 years ago, we started the Green Circle project. Now it becomes the Green Wave. That is to make the same kind of well-being with the clothing, but with respect with the planet. So to be more eco-friendly fabrics, all the process to be more responsible and conscious about the ecosystem. So we are starting this international project with all the Portuguese textile companies and the designers to create a showcase to show to the world, and we can wear nice clothing, but with respect with the planet. So it's a project now.
Yeah. What I love about what both of you said is that every aspect of our lives, wellness is part of it. And that was actually one of the reasons that I was inspired. Being in business over 30 years, being an executive and doing different things with different clients, it was always that if it took just one leader, if there was, not wellness going on in his world, whether it was at home or at work, it had this domino effect that took over the whole project, the whole business. And yet, when the focus was on having greater wellness included, it was amazing, the inspiration that occurred, the domino effect of that positive energy of the business expanding and growing. And both of you, in what you were discussing, it's really incredible that I think if more people out in the world were willing to consider to have like more wellness in their lives, like what else that might create. So Paulo, when you and I were talking, you were actually traveling, meeting with a lot of different countries in terms of this whole sustainable fabric, fashion, and getting the factories and getting like every level of the organization starting to look at this from a different angle. So I'm curious, like, what are you finding now with everything that's going on around the world? The last 2 years have transformed every business. There is not one business that hasn't had to alter the way that they do business. So what are you finding, like, bringing this world of, we say sustainability, but it's more about a thriving planet which includes thriving businesses as well. So what are you finding out in the world these days? And also, what do you think is missing that we need to have more attention on it?
Yeah, I think we are on the right way nowadays. I think because when I go to Africa, or now, for example, in Brazil, I have some meetings with Osclan. It's a very, everybody knows it's a very conscious brand, fashion brand about the planet and the ecosystem. So what I found is because the people start thinking that we have to collaborate all together. We have to find solutions all together. Because from the 80s, we are thinking the individual way, like taking care of the marketing and the branding of all the brands, but not in the connection with each other. So what it changed is to know the communities, the people who work on the system, all the chain of production, and to see with each country, each region, what they have as a good solution that we can incorporate, and we can share information to be transparent, the traceability of all the chain, to be more respectful for each other, to work together, to be in the same system and change that system from inside to outside to the consumer. So what we can find is in each continent, in each country, they have good solutions, then we can share and then together to find new solutions with the problems we have everywhere. So to change the problems in solutions, it's a question that everywhere in the world I think we are thinking about.
Yeah. It's interesting. Many look at the last 2 years and kind of like the challenges that have occurred in the businesses. But if we look at it, even though that there was a lot of, turmoil, there's been like individuals who've passed away. There's been like revamping of the medical systems and things of that sort. It has been a situation that is also getting us to be more creative. It's getting us to actually look at things from such a different place of no longer business as usual. Like you really have to look at overnight, businesses shut down. Many of them never started again. Some of them did. Some of them thrived, because they were able to quickly revamp the way that their consumers were able to reach them. So, when I think the historians are going to look back at this last 2 years or however many years it ends up being, like really looking at the ones who were willing to look at their organization, look at the way that they're doing business, or even like how they function at home. Even the home life has had to be altered. Like, really, I don't know how else we would have gotten to some of the places we've gotten to if it wasn't something that hit so deep globally. So, and one thing I have found, because now I'm traveling a lot, like I'm in Croatia today, I'll be in Portugal tomorrow, and then Dubai. And I've been traveling the last 4 months nonstop. It's been really interesting to see even organizations that before weren't very good about sharing information with other organizations and really looked at them as more as their competition. It's brought them to really look at the overall wellness of their industry, not just the wellness of their business. And like you were describing just a few minutes ago, like really getting us to look at this from a very different perspective of oneness, instead of the separation of, I just care about my business and how can I succeed. So I'm really very fascinated to see, not just like we're talking about the fashion industry, but like every industry out there, what it's going to look like in 5 years or 50 years from now, because we all have to look at it from very different perspective,
Yeah, and we have I think before, when we talk about fashion, we are talking about this kind of language that some people are using to reach some goals, some individual goals. And now when we talk about fashion, we are talking about a different kind of perspective about the clothing and the wearing and the communication with others. So now we think first of all, and the others, the other is really important, and the planet as well. So it's the together, so the global thing, thinking local. So imagine if you go to Africa, you have to find all resources you have there, all the skills they have, all the creativity of the process, and sharing some information to reach some different personal goals, but in a common well-being. So this has changed a lot, because in the beginning it was like a kind of this kind of handcrafts. You got to share like it's something like unique and special, and now it's become part of the process of this whole global process. So I think it's a very change of mentality of the fashion system community, and I think it's something that will be very good for all of us, because we change our way of thinking the business, the way of thinking all the good and the bad thing we can do for the people and the planet. So it's a big change, and I think and I hope that everybody can contribute together to this new way of thinking. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, actually contribution by definition means that there's a gifting and a receiving that's happening simultaneously. So it really isn't that you're here, just like I love the vision of Hera. It's not about us doing for someone. It's really how do we empower them to have the strength to also do and also receive. And this whole gifting and receiving simultaneously being that contribution, not just to us, but like you said, a global oneness of us. Yeah. Yes. Friska, I'm just curious, like, what are you finding? Because I know you're in Australia, your business has always varied, in person, online, and everything else. What are you finding as you're working with different organizations to kind of what the model is today, and when we're talking about wellness, and like what else, like what's missing, and what other things could we be putting more attention on?
First, I want to build on the point that Paulo made about it's more than just sustainability. It's actually this feeling of oneness. And industries such as the fashion industries and consumer brands, they're actually far ahead of the curve. So I come from the heavy capital industries, mining, oil and gas, engineering, and even for those, archaic, shall we say, conservative command and control industries, we're seeing this new wave of businesses breaking into the zeitgeist. So there's a breakthrough and there's an alignment that combines the power of capitalism with the global human consciousness movement. And this is something that we haven't seen it to this extent before. And the merging of social media, social business, and social impact, that trifecta, that really is the next phase of the new interconnectedness of the world. And I call it the rise of conscious capitalism. And we see this everywhere. And, we've seen capitalism dominate our world, say probably for over 500 years, to the point where it was actually in a very high place in modern society. And in the past, lots has been sacrificed to get that higher status, above lifestyle, above health, above family, above happiness. But now people are shying away and turning their back on that, because we know there's a disproportionate distribution of as wealth, and we simply can't continue on the same path that we have before. There's been lots of studies. I talked to quite a few of the big four consulting firms and the millennials that are coming to join those companies. Their first question isn't, how much am I getting paid? What are the benefits? It's, what's your CSR record? What's your policy on modern slavery? How are you committed to the UN SDG goals? So it's not that pigeonhole definition of wellness that we're used to, which is eat healthy, get 8 hours of sleep, et cetera, et cetera. So it's much more encompassing and holistic now. And slowly but surely, it's trickling across sectors and across industries.
Yeah. I have to say, it's incredible. Like, this generation has really gotten us to start looking at things from a different perspective. And just like you said, conscious capitalism, there's an initiative that I've been part of the last 8 years called benevolent capitalism. And it was never meant to be, capitalism was never meant to be to what it's turned out to be today. It really was this exchange of goods, this ability to help each other grow. And benevolent was never meant to be charity. It was meant good for all. So looking at the holistic perspective, and the all includes the earth. At some point, in certain countries it still exists, but in certain countries we really have destroyed this whole world of including everything and everyone, including the earth. I'm here in Croatia, and even their fishing here is conscious fishing, which is something that I really haven't experienced in most of the countries that I get to visit. And they're very aware of how many fishermen are out there. They're very aware of, like actually having conscious awareness of the fish that they're actually capturing to become food. So, like you said earlier, Paulo, like it's this, like the little seeds have started to be planted of really having this global vision where global includes everyone and the planet. And I hate to say that, this is, go ahead.
No, because we still have so much things to do, because I was remember now the problem in Ghana, for example, in Africa. So because for us, the European and the Americans and the Australians and all the Western countries with more money, if you want, what we do waste of our clothing, we are sending to Africa. Before the clothing, before the fast fashion, the clothing they are good enough to stay and to help these people to doing some business, family business. So, but nowadays, after the fast fashion, the clothing we are sending to Africa as a waste. They're already going to the landfills directly. So, for example, in Ghana per week, it's 45 tons of waste garments. They go to the landfills, and now they're going to the ocean. This kind of polyester and the plastic fibers. So it's a huge problem that sometimes what we do, okay, it's a problem for us, we send to the other ones, they can solve the problem. So all this kind of system have to change, and it's changing now. So the communication are more transparent. We are sharing this information, because before we're just taking care of our business, the business of our partners. And now we know that our business is interfering with the business of others. So this is a really change mentality, and we have to be more fast, because we are doing this really slowly, and we have to get more fast because the problem is really, really urgent to solve.
Yeah. Some of the scientists really talk about we have less than 12 years. I mean, our planet cannot,
or even less,
it cannot sustain this. And, every time I hear sustainability, I love the concept of where we're going, but we can't just focus on sustainability. It's not about keeping it as it is. We really have to keep re-engineering what else is required to have a thriving planet. And, actually, that's the other thing about Hera City, is that it's being built, and every component of it is there to honor the rules and regulations for sustainability on the planet. And so, I once again, I'm like, it's unfortunate. It's taking some of the disasters that are happening around the world for us to wake up and actually pay attention that we need to have more wellness in every aspect of our lives. But yet I'm so thrilled that finally, I mean, for over 20 years, I've been talking about wellness. And for so long, people would just look at me and it just was not priority. It wasn't priority in corporate America. It wasn't priority in the governments I was dealing with. But yet every once in a while, when there was an issue, then they would like, okay, now let's focus on it. And then it was once again on the back burner. But you can't hide from it anymore. We really like, and I love that the youth is also helping to be the leaders in asking the tough questions, so that, we actually have to make it be more front conversation, no longer something that's the, let's talk about everything else and it's the last line of conversation.
Yes, and the humans, it's easier to buy a cure than prevention, unfortunately. The same goes for businesses. When things are going great, they're reticent to spend money on anything, because they're like, why fix it when it's broken? But when, profits are going through the roof, they're getting taken over by their competitors, then that's when they will actually take change seriously, and they'll invest a significant amount of effort in turning the ship around. And that's why transformations and turnarounds are often more successful than incremental change projects that focus on continuous improvement, because there is no burning platform, there's no sense of urgency. And this is what's happened today with wellness and the state that we find ourselves in.
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
I agree. But
so
I think that
Friska, what? Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay. Yeah, sorry. No, because I'm just saying that I think, for example, in the textile world that I know better, for all the companies, they're changing because they're coming a new generation of CEOs, and they come from abroad, and they come a new experience, and they're thinking they have a vision of the world in a different way. Of course, it's a business. Of course, they need money, but they can think in a creative way of doing business. But for example, if they can change all the way of production in the process, to don't spend so much water, so much energy, so much chemicals, so much these bad things, then before the parents and the grandfather, they don't care because it's not important for the grow up of the business. But now it's important because the image of the company is to taking care of these areas as well. So I think there are some signs of a change from the new generations. They're really welcoming.
Like one of the companies that I think is actually the leader in being an emblem of wellness, because they've successfully combined passion, purpose, planet, and they're actually profitable. And that's Patagonia. They are one of the most well-known conscious companies in the world. It was California's first benefit corporations. They donate millions of dollars to grassroots nonprofits. They host annual training for activists in the US and Europe. They build global supply chains around better quality raw ingredients. They provide on-site childcare for their employees. And they're one of the most politically engaged companies in the US. So, and what have they done? They've attracted this new wave of consumers, most notably, millennials that are making different choices. So companies like Patagonia, they are seeing the payoff in terms of not just sales growth, but brand and reputation and loyalty. And I was reading an article that said Patagonia's revenue has quadrupled in the past 10 years. That is insane. So we're now seeing actually there is a fight. You don't just have to do good. You can actually be good while doing good and perform good.
Exactly.
Right. You mentioned that Puma is actually up on that list as well, and including the planet and some initiatives. We're actually going to be meeting with Puma to do a summit for the earth. And so I get like, it is like all of these companies who are doing things more on the unique level, they realized they needed to do their business different, doing it like everyone else wasn't going to meet the mission that they want to create, which included that, I'm going to call it benevolent capitalism or conscious capitalism that you want to call, that they realized it wasn't that it was about excluding the money, but it was how do we create it so it's not just for the upper executives, but it actually ends up being that we are spreading it to the growth of our business, our client base, and really making a difference on the planet. And so I think we're going to hear more and more come 2022, 2023 of these companies who are really doing things different. And all of them have to include a different kind of program with wellness in their business. Like truly, like the Google wants to say they do, but it's very select the moments. I would say Google does it their own special way. Let's just put it that way. But yeah, finding, what is going to work, and it has to work for the business as well, because I think sometimes people don't take wellness serious because they assume it's like all you're focusing is on one side of it. You're not focusing on the holistic side, where what we're talking about is not just one area of a business, but really this holistic side that brings it all together.
Yeah, but I think anyway, with this pandemic situation, we see that it's now a really problem that everybody knows, because we have a lot of depressions. So altogether, this change of paradigm in the ecosystem relationship with now with the pandemic situation. The people they stay at home and they find new ways of living. I know a lot of people, for example, in Portugal, then before he was living in the city, and now they are in the countryside, taking care of the agriculture with the food, taking care of food for their well-being. So I think there are a lot of things that are changing, and all together they can do a kind of movement for the well-being of the not all the planet, because it will be really difficult in the short period of time. But for example, the leaders of the brands and the companies, they're really responsible for changing the situation. I think they have to do this way because there are a lot of problems to solve. And now with the pandemic, we have an extra problem, is the mental health. And we have a lot of problems in this area. Yeah.
Yeah. It's really interesting. Yeah, I mean, that's an area that actually, Hera Wellness will focus a lot on. Is we have a whole new society around anxiety and mental health that didn't exist before the pandemic. I think mental health was always something that people assumed happened to someone, not them, and not their family members. And it was this thing that was this kind of like, hey, let's have this conversation over here. But I work with executives who are the leaders. They're the ones who need to have, their confidence and their ability to do certain things. And this pandemic affected them, affected their families, affected their staff in such a different way. Even morale of even employment level right now. We have created an environment where people are so codependent on the government instead of having a workforce that's sustainable and gets to grow and be healthier. So we really need to put a greater attention on mental health and just overall wellness, including mental health for each person, even if it seems, because mental health is one of those things that it may not be visually seen. You might experience someone visually, but it's such a hidden under the covers type of a situation that, we need to have greater awareness. And we also need to empower people to know that they can ask for help. Yes. Where it's such a forbidden thing that most people kind of shy away from, but it ends up being a destructive thing in the community as well as, in business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree. You have to really be aware of this because the people, they don't show some people, yes, of course, but I don't know, but usually they don't show this. And it's a huge problem, I think, in these communities because everything is changing at the same time. And plus we have the pandemic. So some people, they don't have the skills to create the defenses toward this kind of it's a problem, because they're anxious. They are anxious about the situation. They don't know the future. The culture of the fear. The people have fear of everything, and the governments, they empower the culture of the fear. They control everything. So the people, they become a little bit like inside. It's become like it's growing this anxious situation, and become really a depression. Dangerous situation. So that's why I'm thinking that when we think in the creative process of changing globally altogether, they can help. They can be an instrument of like a therapeutic situation. You know what I mean? Because it can become a therapy as well. If the people is anxious and depressed, they understand that altogether we are trying to find some solutions. They become more safe, or they have the feeling of to being more safe. I think it's important that we show to everybody that we are in a connection and we are trying to find solutions for everybody. I think it's really important nowadays. Sorry.
Yeah, definitely. No problem. Friska, I mean, for you, I know you're in Australia. Are you guys still in lockdown in Australia? How is it there?
No, we got out 3 weeks ago. Yep. So it's pretty much business as usual now. Restaurants are open, cafes are open. There's limits on how many people you can have according to social distancing measures.
Sure.
But our international borders opened 3 days ago, so we can now leave the country. Yeah.
I didn't know. Yeah, cool.
You guys can't come in yet, though.
Yeah.
We can leave, but no one can come in. Yeah, that's going to happen in December, apparently.
You have an amazing person working in about sustainability in Australia, Claire Press. She's amazing. She's doing a very well job there in this area.
Oh, okay.
Podcast. Yeah, but that's really interesting. Claire Press is really interested in the sustainability session. Yeah. I love Australia. Yeah.
Well, but I mean, even if can we talk about that, Friska, for just a minute? Because, you know, Friska is also a Hera advisor. And, you know, I remember our chats, you know, when they did go back into lockdown. And you guys in Australia, just the whole experience was so different than the rest of the world, because Australia didn't let anyone in, you know, and didn't let anyone out. So their case study is so different than some of the other countries who let people in and out. And yet I recall one of the things that, you know, even like you as this expert who does this for other organizations, you know, me as well, like we also having the situation of like having the freedom to go somewhere, and then now we don't. And you had on your LinkedIn a bunch of different things of ways that you are motivating people and you are inspiring them to start to look at this from a different angle. So I'm curious, you know, if people are watching right now, because I know I talk to a lot of people who used to travel a lot. And right now, like you said, there's this anxiety about travel and going places and the fear of what's going to happen being on a plane, even though I think the planes are somewhat safer than some other places that most people are going to, because of their rules that they're actually putting in place. But like, what would you share with someone who right now is in a situation, in a challenging situation where, you know, they kind of might need a little bit more of inspiration?
Inspiration to?
Well, like you were motivating people who are, you know, there are countries that are still in lockdown. There are people that haven't experienced, actually, even if their country's not in lockdown, actually even wanting to leave their homes. So in some of your inspiration, I'm just curious what you might be able to share with others.
Well, for those that were still in lockdown, for me, I just focused on what I could do within my control. So, you know how we all have those lists, like those one-day lists, like one day I'll, for example, learn French, one day I'll fix the garage, one day I'll do this, one day I'll that. Well, all that stuff on that one-day list turned into day one. Like I just did so much stuff. My God, my wardrobe has never been so pristine. Throughout all my old stuff, you know, Googled foreign recipes, tried a new recipe every few days. And then so I had something to look forward to. I started fantasizing of where I would travel when borders would be open. And, you know, I had fun putting it together, et cetera, et cetera. So I think you just have to focus on what you can control and focus on the positive, and definitely be conscious of what you consume, not just what you put in your mouth, but what you put in your brain and who you associate with, right? Because emotions are contagious. And if you hang out with negative people, you will be dragged down into their misery. So I made a point to always, I didn't bother watching the news. Like, who cares if the case numbers were 1,000 and something? It didn't impact my life, didn't impact my work. So I just went 110% into work and focusing on positive stuff. And for work in particular, lockdown worked for me. Like, I've been delivering remotely for clients around the world for the past 2 years. And I use the time regained by not being able to travel or go out and whatnot to create more products in my ecosystem. So I'm now working on my second online course. I've had so many international speaking gigs and more to come. And I started finding people and developing relationships with people who shared my same values, shared the same outlook that I had. Like, I wouldn't be a Hera ambassador today if I didn't come across Marianella. And all that happened because I was in lockdown, I was at home, all I had was high-speed internet. So I thought, you know, make hay while the sun shines. And now I'm seeing the green shoots of all the seeds that I planted during lockdown.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the key aspects. Actually, that's you know, I look at Marinella as well, and I know like all of us used to travel. I used to travel every week to a new country, and there was sometimes not enough time to do all the things that we want to actually put our attention on. And, you know, even with Marinella, like she was able to actually grow Hera globally during the lockdown because people were more reachable and had more time and more space to actually engage and follow through. You know, I think that's something that's very important. And like you said, I think most of us, especially at the conversation we had about anxiety and things of that sort, most people don't look at their environment to how much it's contributing to go more towards the angle of a problem versus the angle of, hey, this is an opportunity right now. This is a possibility that we haven't even considered yet. And so, you know, who we surround ourselves with, and knowing like maybe you don't pick up the phone and call the friend that always has to complain, but someone who is going to invite you and inspire you to something greater, you know, maybe ask you some questions about your business, or might be able to connect you with other people based on, you know, what your business is designed to grow in. So I really believe when we're talking about wellness, like you said, it's not just the food of what you're putting in your body or you're exercising, but it really becomes this whole unit of you. And your mindset is key. I mean, if you have one thought of negativity and problem and insanity, it multiplies, you know, it just takes you off track, and it no longer gives you the ability to be creative.
Yeah. And I think companies are now cottoning on to the mind-body connection, and it's transforming the way they think about their businesses. Their entire workplaces are being built to reflect this new awareness of well-being in the office. Offices are more open, they're brighter, right? Break rooms, they used to be stocked with a lot of crap, but now there are a lot of healthier snacks. Fruit bowls are so common now, popcorn, there's comfortable spaces to relax and find quiet time. And conversely, communal spaces where you can come together and collaborate and actually workshop things. Lighting is also less harsh, and all of these details and others, they play an essential role in our workplace culture that's more focused on health and well-being. And thankfully, that's moving from the minority to the majority. Those things you would only find in, you know, hip tech startups, maybe a Lululemon store, whatever. But, you know, whether you work for a bank or a mining company, these things are now becoming more commonplace.
Yeah. I remember working for a startup before 2000, and it was like we had one wall was purple, one was orange, like the diversity of like even what was snack, and even having a foosball, like there was a different kind of a community that they were creating. But you didn't find it when I worked at Dell. Dell Computers, very different in their mindset. So I'm curious to, like you said, this is becoming more of no longer a minority, but an actual way of doing business, you know, and allowing the growth to happen. So Paulo, what about you? You know, with this time,
Yes,
I know.
Yeah, in the first, when everything starts in March in 2020, I was locked down as everybody. So, but after that, I was working. I'm still working a lot. We have because we are doing it virtually, not physically in all the trade shows and everything, but we are doing online. So I was working, and I was doing a book about sustainability for textiles and fashion, and a magazine as well. So I started doing the best I can, but just to answer, because she was saying that it was really cool, because in this period, the people are profiting to redesign the lifestyle, and redesign the resources for our happiness. It was the best thing that can happen. Of course, the COVID situation and the pandemic situation, it was terrible, but at the same time, it was a chance and opportunity to redesign the lifestyle we have before. Because sometimes, even for work, for example, I was traveling all the time to trade show, to another trade show, go there to do a shooting camp. And now we just go if it's essential to travel, you know what I mean? If it's really needed, otherwise we can communicate like we are doing now. We don't need to go all the time and back. So yeah, we can redesign the way we are doing the things, and the pleasure and the way we are consuming. Everything can be redesigned. So, because when we talk about design, it's always to do different and new things. We are used to this in our heritage of conception, but now redesign can be using the same things in a different way. So it's a different kind of creativity in the process. So what I was doing, it was thinking about all these things. It was already in my mind. I have more time to think about that. And now what I was doing, it was to making that in a book and in a magazine to show after when I go with the showcase, we can show in words and in image what we are thinking about the new world. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful. It was my 2 years.
Yeah. I can't even believe it's been almost 2 years. It's just incredible how much time has passed, you know? So tell me, Friska, like our last few minutes together, you know, what do you, like looking at a white canvas, like truly, like you said, if we're redesigning, you know, wellness and business and lives, everything, right? Just pick whichever works for you. But like you are redesigning, you got a white canvas. What would you put in it, you know, when you're thinking about the visionary of the future?
That's centered around wellness, you mean? Like the workplace wellness integrated in the workplace? I see a lot of open spaces, a lot of spaces that can be dual inside, outside. So you kind of bring the outside environment in. I definitely see a lot of plants, a lot of greenery, a lot of water, right? People that live near water apparently live 10 years longer, according to the Blue Zones research, and a lot of time for social connection, right? I think connection is very important. And often in today's hectic world, we mistake connectivity for connection, but that's actually not it. Just because you're on a Zoom call with somebody doesn't mean you're actually connecting. So having real conversations and connecting with other people would be one. And of course, fully sustainable materials, you know, natural light. Those are the key things that I see in the workplace of the future.
Yeah. And I love the way you said that, because I think a lot of times people misrepresent thinking, like you said, on a Zoom or a situation like that, where I consider engagement. You know, what's missing, like you said, connectivity. For me, it's engagement. And I have to say, last year, I was in Portugal for 9 days looking at properties when the COVID happened. And I ended up spending a year in Portugal, one of the most beautiful places on the planet, which is my new home. But it really was this interesting thing because I love the Portuguese people. To them, it is about engagement, you know, most of them, as soon as, you know, the lockdown stopped, they were all about meeting, engaging, having these conversations with each other. And I love that. That's actually the way that I like to do business, even on the large scale. You know, we can have 5,000 people, it doesn't matter, but it's like that engagement's so different than having it be via technology. Technology assists us, but it's not true engagement. You know, we can create things, we can do things. Technology can be a tool, but it's definitely not there to replace human contact. So thank you for that. Paulo, what about you? What does that future look like for you?
I think the same way as Friska. I think is to transform the inside outside, you know, to there's more connection with the outside is really important. And it's already something that happens already. I think we can see even in Lisbon before the gardens, it's just to walk with the dogs, and now they are profiting the gardens, they are doing picnics, they are sharing, there are little groups talking about things, so they are living in the gardens as well, not just for going with the dog. So I think all these I think it's really important, our connection with them, with everything surround us. You know, the nature is amazing, and respecting the nature is the most fantastic thing we can do for our well-being. So this is the first thing. The second thing is the respect and to be connected with the community, work with the communities, helping the people to be more more aware, more aware what is happening in our community, what we can help the people. For example, we have old people with skills, we can put them working together for doing some garments. If you need people with needs, we can include these people to transform really luxury products, because luxury, it's a new thing nowadays. It's not the same luxury as before. So for me, luxury now, you have time to be in nature and to be connected with nature and to help the communities there where I go to find solutions for problems they have. So I think this new mentality of inclusion, of going from inside to outside and connect both of the parts, of sharing information, sharing some ways of practice these skills and instruments we have. So I think this will be it's more, everybody will become more happy when we are doing the good and not the bad. Some people, they think, okay, we are really focused on business and making money and this kind of thing. But I think it's more important for us to be happy if we are practicing the good. The good is for the others, is the good for us. So for me, I was already living in this kind of mindset of respect for the other, respect for the planet and the inclusion, because I was working with luxury so many years, and I think it's just a question of ego system. And this, in the end, we become a little bit depressed. We are really frustrated about we don't reach the goals we think we are reaching. So when you're more simple, more basic, more foot on the earth, be more honest, more, more real, more human is the best thing for me now.
Yeah, I think you both said it so beautifully. It really is this engagement with every molecule, engaging with everything in this magical planet that we have. And just like you said, I mean, our bodies are made of the earth. We are part of the earth. And when we have that communion with the earth and restore our communion, instead of just thinking and doing it from, craziness up here, and actually be more grounded and have that connection, it's amazing what happens and how much wellness expands. Your joy expands, your wellness expands, and they all lead to also having more money. I mean, when you look at the employees, like even when you were talking about the different organizations and what they're doing, they're actually bringing more joy and they're bringing more of this communion into the workforce. A mom that doesn't have to worry about their child and babysitting and going and picking and coming, that space of relaxation will actually make the mom more productive and better at engaging with the things that she needs to do during the day. But also looking at our overall oneness, our mental health, our bodies, having a different kind of communication with our bodies, as well as adding that wellness to every part of our lives and living. So I'm so excited that you guys were here, and for everyone who's watching now, and I know a lot of people are watching later, and if there's anything that you guys would like to hear more about, Hera TV has some really great empowering conversations with different kinds of people, organizations, people just doing some really amazing things around the world. So make sure you let us know at heracity.org contact page. And as we're building also the cities, we'll also have Hera Wellness and so many other parts to Hera City. If you guys have some ideas, or if you have some products or services that you deliver that would match what we're talking about, please engage with us. Let us know. I know the first Hera Wellness Center will be in Dubai. The next one to be announced as soon as we announce the next Hera City build where it's happening. But we want to hear from you guys because we are a global organization and we are looking to empower all around. And like right now, we have people in Portugal, we have the Hera Golf event that's happening, and all of this in the light of women, empowering women, empowering communities, empowering the whole humanity. So what role can we each play in what you described, Paulo, truly that respect and that honoring of each other, and the wellness that you mentioned as well, Friska, too. So I wonder what communities we've already created with the same mindset that we have and others, and what else is really possible as we go into finishing off the year 2021 and going into 2022 and beyond. So thank you, everyone. So grateful for both of you, Friska and Paulo, for being here with me. And I know, Friska, you're amazing. I know it's midnight your time and you still look amazing on this video. And Paulo, thank you. I know you're on vacation, so for being here, part of this conversation. And Hera and, of course, Marinella, thank you guys so much for everything that Hera is creating and contributing on the planet. Thank you, and we'll see you guys soon. Bye, everyone.
Thank you for being here with us, whether you were listening or watching. We are so grateful for you, and we need your help. We would love to spread the seeds of wellness all around the world. Will you assist us? You can subscribe below. You can subscribe in Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, Spotify, iTunes, YouTube. We are everywhere. And we ask, would you be willing to actually spread this to others that you may know who can actually be contributed with the tools and resources to bring more wellness into their life and into their bodies?